So, haven't heard from anti-vaxxers for a while. I wonder what they were getting up to.
Not like you.
Yeah, my last podcast was called Coronavirus, and I realized I didn't talk much about coronavirus. I talked a little bit about it, and maybe that's because there isn't much to say about it, and maybe that's okay. Maybe everything's okay. Maybe everything's not okay. Maybe we're all doomed. Maybe we're all going to die tomorrow. We're probably not. Yesterday, the Irish government extended the restrictions to May 3rd, I think, or May the 5th. All I really remember is that it was not May the 4th. Missed opportunity there. May the 3rd, I think. So the restrictions are: don't leave the house unless you're getting medicine or food. If you're doing exercise, don't go more than 2 kilometers away from your house. And to that end, signs have popped up all around, like regular stop signs, except clearly printed out on a sheet of cardboard. And the sign says, "Stay away, fools!" No, that's not what it says. It says, "Stop and think. Are you now more than 2 kilometers from your home?" Which is great, but it does sound a little bit... I don't know, it sounds a little bit like I'm going to be asked for my papers. And the police, the cops, the Gardaí, we call them in Ireland. The Gardaí. They're stopping people and breaking up groups. I was stopped in town the other day. And I was going to get some medicine for myself, And the guard said there was 2 lady guards. We used to have a separate term for female women guards in Ireland, Gardaí, and they were ban Gardaí, because ban is the Irish word for woman. So they were ban Gardaí, women guards, right? But now, thankfully, a guard is a guard, regardless of orientation or gender or biological happenstance. But as it turned out, these were 2 women guards. And I realise now, I'm having my cake and eating it. I am both stating as policy that it doesn't make a difference and telling you that these guards were women. And that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to be hypocritical. They stopped me in my car and she said, I didn't need to say that at all. It would have been clear when I rolled in with a pronoun, wouldn't it? And I couldn't have just said nothing. I can just edit all this out and just go, no, just... I was stopped by some Gardaí in town today, and one of them, she said to me, "Is your journey essential today?" And I said, I came in, because I tend to say things without thinking, I said, I came in to buy some drugs. And she said, "I don't think any of those guys are going to be in town today." And I said, "No, I mean for my diabetes." And she said, "You mean medicine?" And I said, "Yeah, medicine, drugs, medicine." And she said, "It's just when you said drugs there, And I said, "Oh yeah, fine, yeah, okay, I get it now. You were buying medicine." I said, "Yeah, okay, fine, I could have phrased that better, And she said, "Yes, you could have. But I'm glad they're stopping people. Is your journey essential today? Are you taking necessary journeys?" And I was on a necessary journey, so I was covered. But she said there was people going out just for the spin, like for the laugh. And they're not inherently humorous times. I mean, it does... I'm not sure if I said that in the last podcast, because I'm damned if I'm listening to it, but I know I went off on a million different tangents as I do. But I've been telling people that I have been in training for this for the last 40 years. Don't talk to anybody. Stay away from everybody. That's my jam. That's very much my jam. And I'd kind of be happy if everything just stayed like this forever, were it not for the pile of bodies. Because I'm not a fan of people dying all over the place. So the government extended the restrictions until May 3 when they look at it again. We still haven't hit the spike of the curve. I don't even know if we've flattened it. They come on every night and they give us a little update and they say we're doing good work, and I guess we are. They're not allowed to lie. They're government science people and medicine people. I guess they're not allowed to lie. So if they say the restrictions are working, then I guess they're working. But I don't know. Despite the fact that this is very much my jam, my expectations regarding my personal productivity have not been met. And that's being charitable to myself. Because I made out lists. I made a list of things I thought I'd be doing more of during the quarantine apocalypse. And the list includes writing, which is what I'm doing all the time anyway, but I thought I'd be doing more of it if I was just relaxed, because usually there's a constant monkey on my back comprised of the social welfare people who can just come crashing down and ruin everything just by saying you have to go to this meeting, and then they'll say then you have to do this thing in order to qualify for your benefits, and that'll just throw everything. Like I went and worked in a church for a year, by the way, which was fantastic, but I only went there because they sent me there. You know, I would never have gone there otherwise. But when I was in and I was working, it was great. They're really nice people, and I really liked the work I was doing, and everything was great. But it did put a spike in my writing, which I regard as my real work. And I don't know if you're going to track it. You can if you like. There was no this business. What do you call these things? Ad hoc radio shows. What do you call the podcast? There was none of these podcast things. YouTubes, I guess. Yeah. It just stopped everything. And I was building up. I underestimated the extent to which a career in writing would involve networking. Let me put it that way. And networking involves being personable to people and building relationships with editors and publishers and talking to people who will print your stuff and all that business. I thought like I could just write really cool stuff, and yeah, I know I'm arrogant about my writing or whatever. I just thought I could write really cool stuff and people would want to print it just because it was cool. But no, you have to sell it and you have to explain yourself, and oh my god, I can't deal with that, you know. But it turns out that I can, just very slowly. So that stopped for an entire year while I was at the church, and it's difficult to build all that back up again. But God knows where I would have been right now if I didn't have the church to. Anyway. I thought I'd be writing more. I thought I'd be reading more. I thought I'd be talking to friends of mine on video calls more, which I'm not. I don't know why. I thought I would take the opportunity to learn a new language, which I have not done. And again, I don't know. I thought I'd be making food from recognizable ingredients, but no, it's takeaways and not recognizable ingredients. I thought I'd be catching up on literally anything. I thought I'd be sleeping more. No, so the things I thought I'd be doing more of are writing, reading, talking to friends on the video call, learning a new language, making food from recognizable ingredients, catching up on literally anything, and sleeping. But the things I am not doing more of during this quarantine apocalypse are writing, reading, talking to friends on video call, learning a new language, making food from recognizable ingredients, catching up on literally anything, sleeping. I did that fast so you wouldn't have to listen to it twice. So the question then became, in this list, what the hell am I doing with all this new extra time I have? So I made a list of all the things I'm doing more of. I am doing more of moving chairs around rooms. Yes I am. Crunchy cereal. That processed stuff. I'm doing more of that. Washing my hands. I'm washing my hands a lot more, because they say that soap kills the virus, because the virus is covered in this fat lipid layer, and if soap comes into contact with it, the lipid layer just falls off, and the virus is like, ooh, hello, ooh, I have become naked in the eyes of the Lord, and hides behind a bush. And then God comes down and says, Adam and Eve, where are you? And they'll say, we're hiding behind a bush. Why are you hiding behind the bush? Because we're not wearing anything and we're ashamed. Who told you were ashamed? We ate the fruit that you told us not to. But in our defense, it is the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And you told us that before we had any knowledge of good and evil. We didn't know it was the wrong thing to do. And the snake said, if we ate the fruit, we'd know things. And in Satan's defense, he did tell us the truth about that. Whereas you come across as extraordinarily petty and kind of dickish, you know? Like if you put a big red button with do not press this button in the middle of a room full of 3-year-olds, or me, and say do not press this button, what do you think I'm going to do? And I'm 44, but I guess a room full of 3-year-olds as well. What do you think's going to happen? And it seems almost willfully vexatious to pretend that I've done something wrong, you know? And I'm saying this because something like that did actually happen. My dad, when I came back from America the first time, my dad had arranged an alarm company, like for old people. He had like a thing around his neck, and you press a button, a panic button if you fell over, I guess, and they'd send out these people, right? So it's one of those services, I don't know what you call it. But there was a big red button right next to the telephone. And Brian, my dad, said, don't press that button, he said, or they'll come. And of course it was just this big red button sitting beside the telephone in the hall. And the first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, no problem. And I'm not a child. I will be able to refrain from hitting the button. So by day 3, from walking up and down the hall multiple times every day, I was losing my nut. And I just lost the head one day and I smashed the button. and it set off the alarm, and people came to the house, and Brian had to disconnect the service because he couldn't trust me around it. But he started that by putting that button in the hole. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Just leave it alone? You know nothing about me. So yeah, soap kills the virus is the reason. I'm doing it again on these. I have this time I wrote a script and I'm still going way off base. I'm sorry if this doesn't make any sense to anybody, but if you wash your hands with soap, the soap will kill the virus just like that on contact. So I've been soaping my hands quite a lot and putting my soapy hands all over. Shit, damn. No, putting my soapy hands all over the door handles and all over anything that we all touch, which isn't a lot of things because Brian is my dad is basically being cocooned. They call it being cocooned, which means it's a sort of extreme isolationism, right? It's being cocooned means you don't really. We talk to him through a door most of the time, and we kind of don't use all the stuff he's using, and we stay like away from him, and he's in his own room, and we're in our own room, and he has his own bathroom, and we have our own bathroom, and so on. The idea is to stop him from dying, I guess. Well, he's going to die of something, but not of coronavirus, not if we can help it. So washing your hands a lot kills the virus. Also, I guess it's just good hygiene. Wash your hands a lot. I'm definitely washing my hands a lot more than I used to. And the womankind of Ireland are aghast at the mankind of Ireland because they are learning how little the mankind of Ireland up to this point had been washing their hands because of the amount they complain about having to wash their hands more than they used to. So I guess that's a thing. I am doing more washing of my hands. I'm also doing more lying on the floor. Awake, I mean. I don't know, just sometimes I just lie on the floor for a little while and... The end of that sentence was going to be, and it makes me feel better. But no, that's just something that I do now. I lie on the floor every so often. Presumably just because of this coronavirus restrictions lockdown. If the quarantine apocalypse is upon us all. If they're lifted, maybe I'll lie on the floor a little less. A little fewer. Going to be grammatically correct. I will lie on the floor fewer when the restrictions are lifted. I'm also doing a lot more of Excedrin. I have been pre-migraine. By pre-migraine, I mean I have a feeling in my head, like this very, very faint feeling of pain that feels like it's going to burst into a migraine, like in about an hour. But I've had that since January. And I've been rolling up. I had it down to about 2 Excedrin. Excedrin is this little tablet that's specifically developed to have the maximum dose of everything that you can get before you need a doctor's prescription. So it's all OTC stuff, but it's the maximum whack of OTC stuff in one tablet. So I was down to about 2 of those, and now I'm up to 3 of those a day, and it does keep the pre-migraine feelings to a minimum, maximum beats per minute. It's a Kraftwerk reference. So yeah, I'm doing more Excedrin, they call it. I'm doing more of those, 3 a day. I'm also doing more moving books from one shelf to another. I have taken the opportunity to move all my books from the bookshed that I've told you all about before, all one of you. So I'm moving them from the shelf back into the house and rearranging them. And I guess I do like that. Sorry, people who like bungee jumping and kayaking. My version of kayaking, I mean, doing something unnecessary for fun, in other words, doing something completely unnecessary for fun is rearranging books on my bookshelves. That's my kayaking. And they're heavy, man. I probably burn as many calories. Also, I've been screaming a lot of abuse at my dog. Charlie? Yeah, you, buddy. I have been screaming abuse at my dog, but now I scream abuse more at my dog, and I can see how people get complexes and need to go to a psychotherapist now, because he's now associated having abuse screamed at him with affection. So every time I start screaming abuse at him, and I use all the words, all the naughty words, all the bad words, just top volume at him, like if he annoys me. And he just comes over and starts licking me and going, oh, let's play. And I'm like, now if I don't scream abuse at him, he's like, what's happening? What's going on? I'm thinking, wow, this is exactly what happens to humans, isn't it? This is what happens. I have made this dog into psychological case. Well, I'm never actually angry at him. I just like screaming abuse. I'm never angry at anybody, but I do like using a lot of bad language. F this, F also that, and there's other words that begin with different letters that I also use. But they're all kind of, the best ones are the crunchy Anglo-Saxon ones, aren't they? Yes. So yeah, I have been screaming more abuse at my dog. He likes it. He's sick in the head now because of what I did. Also, because I said this is my jam, I have been quietly hoping for Apocalypse extensions, which I don't like saying out loud because a lot of people who are more social than me, which is basically everybody, they're missing going out to the bar, hanging out with their friends, going to the park, going downtown in groups of more than one. I guess they're missing all that. See, to me, that's nothing. I never went to the bars anyway, and hanging out in groups, it's not for me, man. It's not for me. I love going to the supermarket now because you can only go in certain, like, you wait outside. Like in Lidl, they make you wait outside until somebody comes out, and then somebody goes in to make sure there's the same number of people circulating inside. It's not a big number of people, so you can walk around them and you don't have to sneeze on them or whatever. It's great. It's a really good idea. Oh, and I like it a lot, but I think we can all learn something from this apocalypse, this quarantine. I hope so. About how to organize society in a more person-friendly. Like, we're finding out who the important people are now. And it's not bankers and stockbrokers and all the people who are in charge of the economy. It's like the guy in the supermarket and the postman and so on. They're the important people, and doctors and nurses. And I hope people hang on to that information when this thing goes away again, which eventually it will. Also, something I'll be doing more of is I have been opening and closing doors more. Not sure what that's about, but I do remember writing it down. But I have been opening and closing doors more. Maybe that's just from... No, it's not even that. I'm not even going to finish that sentence because it's clearly incorrect. So, I don't know. That's what I've been doing. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of England, is... He has coronavirus. Hang on.
Not like you.
Hey, okay. That was just Andrea, my soon-to-be ex-wife. There should really be a word for that, shouldn't there? Soon-to-be ex-wife. Maybe there is a word for it and I just don't know what it is. Suggestions. Put them in the comment section below. Do not do that. She wanted me to make her hot chocolate. Well, I don't want to be, blowing smoke up my own ass here, but I make the best hot chocolate. And you know what the trick is? Just follow the instructions. Just do exactly what it says in the tin, and you make the best hot chocolate. I'm one of those guys who always preheats the oven, yeah? But what I don't do is I don't leave microwave food rest for a minute. Like they always tell you, hey, microwave this for 12 minutes, but leave it a minute to rest. My ass. Well, who does that? Go up here, Charlie. Come on, Charlie. Sorry, my dog's being a... Now, another thing I did this week was I fell for a little internet joke, wherein there was a little video of a guy opening up he was upending the lid of a Nutella jar, and there was a little plastic spoon or a knife inside, and then you use that to shovel the Nutella into your gob. I did check my own domestic Nutella jars, and none of them had it, and I realised I had been effectively tricked into believing that the Nutella jar... By the way, always say Nutella, never say Nutella, right? Say Nutella because it drives people insane. Just making tiny little mistakes and things drives people a lot more insane than if you make a huge mistake, like if you called it Marmite or something, because that's just wrong. But calling it Nutella is just like, that's like, right? Always do that. I always call it the Panama Canal. Just because it seems to annoy people. And I think that's enough of a reason to do something. The Panama Canal. Just intentionally mispronounce things. Although I have also in my time unintentionally mispronounced things. For 30-something years, I was pronouncing a word which is not pronounced like this, grimace. which apparently is pronounced grimace. But my granddad used to pronounce it grimace, and he also used to pronounce. Now, you see, he didn't realize that I didn't talk to anybody, and I only read words, and I had no way of knowing that these were the wrong pronunciations. But he would say things like determined and dangaroos for dangerous and so on, and he'd just drop these regularly into conversation. My granddad would, and he wouldn't tell me at any point ever. And he's dead now, and he still hasn't told me that these were the incorrect pronunciations. He just dropped them in like as a long-form troll effort, and it has delivered even unto grimace. So apparently it's pronounced grimace. Apparently that's the correct way to pronounce that word. I still say grimace because it's so ingrained in me that I can't get it right. Like so many things in my life, I can't get it right. Yeah, so I fell for the Nutella thing. Yeah. So, trees make more trees by pulling carbon out of the fucking air, powered by sunshine. And I know everybody knows that already. Like the wood part of the tree doesn't come from the ground, it comes from the air. They pull it out of the carbon dioxide. They pull in carbon dioxide and they kick out oxygen. And with the carbon that they've left, they build more tree. And the whole factory that does that is powered by sunshine. That's kind of magical, isn't it? That's what trees do. No, that's nothing. Okay, fine. Yeah, fine. Boris got this, as I was going to say before, the hot chocolate operation. Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister of England, and he got this coronavirus thing, and he went into intensive care, and all the Irish people are going, not all of them, but a lot of Irish people were saying, yeah, fuck him. But I don't want him to die. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want people to die. I don't want anyone to die. And it's like an Aristotelian syllogism. I don't want anyone to die. Boris Johnson, whatever his political leanings and personal faults and failings, is a person. Therefore, I do not want Boris Johnson to die. But I do disagree with everything he stands for. And I don't think any Prime Minister in the history of the state would ever have gotten away with being unable to answer a simple question like, how many children do you have? Which he refuses to answer. Either because he doesn't know or because of something even more embarrassing than not knowing. But yeah, I think that kind of brought it home to English people anyway, when their elected leader got coronavirus, and he was in intensive care, which is not really where you want to be for any reason. So yeah, the Irish government extended the social distancing thing, the social distance restrictions, until May 3. Social distancing, the whole point of it is to, again, people have got the wrong idea about this. They think that a lot of people are saying, oh, sure, I'm not going to get it, so I'm not worried about it, and so on and so forth. The idea isn't about, don't worry about getting it. The social distancing thing is, you have to kind of imagine like you have it, and that you're trying to avoid giving it to others. That's what it means. Because any of us could have it and not know. So the trick is just assume you have it, and whatever you do now is to avoid giving it to others. That's what social distancing is. It's not keeping away from other people so they don't infect you. It's the opposite. It's keeping away from people so you don't infect them. That's the way to think of it. It might make it easier to conceptualize what you should be doing. Coronavirus, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. We're gonna make it through this. I wanted to write an article about the reasoning behind the specific social distancing restrictions we have in Ireland. But only because the title of that article will be Y2K. Because we have to stay, we're not allowed to go more than 2 kilometers outside our house. And it sounds like Y2K, the millennium thing. Do you remember the millennium thing? Do you remember the millennium? God almighty, do you remember last month? Never mind the millennium. I was looking at blog entries I made, and it's like I made them years ago. January seems like years ago now. To me. This coronavirus, it does play with your internal sense of time. Because every day now is like every other day. There's no work week to break it up, and not in a bad way. It's disorienting, but I like being disoriented. Sometimes I change how I sleep. I'll go the other way on the bed, up and down instead of down and up. Just so when I wake up, it feels like I'm waking up somewhere else. I like being disoriented. It's hard to explain, so I'm not going to bother. I didn't talk much about the coronavirus this time either. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of time. What else am I doing right? Maybe there'll be another one. I don't know. This is going to be Coronavirus 2, The Reckoning. No, Coronavirus 2. This time it's personal. No. Coronavirus 2. I'll just call it Y2K. Yeah, that'll do it, right? Coronavirus 2, Y2K. Oh, brilliant. No, 2 Corona, 2 Virus. Oh. No, that's... Well, you know what? You're all going to see what I called it. And this whole paragraph can be deleted with no loss of meaning or sense. That's it. I'm done now. And if you liked it, tell your friends. If you did not like this podcast, please tell everybody you know what you didn't like about it, why you didn't like it, and so on, because negative traction. Oh man. I am sustained by negative traction. And I am out.